We're good?
All right.
Hello. So, audience, we are on the interwebs. You guys are not. We will encourage you to come down and speak if you wish. Hello, internets. I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, and this is Dr. Eric Westman of Duke University. And this is, how many years? 11 years you've been doing this monthly Durham support group meeting?
I lost count.
It's at least 10, maybe probably more like 12.
Wow. We probably should be good at it by now.
So anyway, for those of you who's here for the first time? Whoa,
nice.
That's a good one. Yay, good job. Well, you always like to ask the question, who's here under...
Who's here that doesn't want to be here? Brought by your family, friend?
Direct. Keeping it.
No one? Oh, okay.
That's good. That is really good. So, is everyone familiar with, first of all, Dr. Westman's program?
We should really do it the other way. Who's not familiar?
Okay, good.
Yeah, well, so, gosh, 20-some years ago, I didn't, like most doctors, I didn't know much about nutrition, didn't know much about weight loss. As an internal medicine specialist, doctors just don't get trained. Have you had that experience? You ask a doctor for help in weight loss, and they say, well, just go lose weight. As if we were born to know how to do it.
That's like telling a depressed person to just cheer up.
Just snap out of it. So 2 of my patients at the VA here in Durham had fantastic weight loss results in front of my eyes. I didn't tell them to do anything. So I asked, well, what'd you do? And they said they both had read the Atkins book. The new Diet Revolution had been republished in the 90s, and I was curious about it because when I would send my patient to the VA dietitians, they didn't lose weight. And to have people do it in front of me without me, I thought, this is easy. You don't even need a doctor to lose weight. And so I thought, well, let me find out a little bit more about this. Went to the bookstore, saw some book. The only doctor who was still in practice at that time who had a book on the shelf was Dr. Atkins. And so, I'm a young professor at Duke. I can write him a letter. I mean, it's just a doctor, right? So I wrote him a letter, and he calls back and says, what do you want? Who is this? This is back when we had phones like this. Yeah. And so he broke the ice and said, why don't you just come up to the office in New York City? So I took a couple researchers with me up to the office in New York City and asked what they did. Came back with a sheet of paper and a handout and started studying the Atkins diet. I didn't start using it right away. In fact, I was skeptical. And by this time, all the other friends who were researchers around me were like treating me like an outcast. What are you doing? What are you studying the Atkins diet? Oh my God. There's no science about it. Well, when you went to the literature, and I did, there was no science against it. By the time everyone was saying this is such a bad diet, it's going to kill you, I thought I would go and find paper after paper after paper saying the Atkins diet kills people. There were no papers that said it, but everyone knew it was true. Like prejudging.
And he was actually, Dr. Atkins was actually brought up before some congressional committee, wasn't he, for like malpractice? There was something.
Well, yeah, I didn't. So that was before my time. I mean, so he's at the end of his career in New York City. I go up and say, hey, I'll do some research for you, and I had the foresight to bring a one-page research proposal, and said, well, here's what I want to do, and here's the budget. And he goes, okay. Pulls out his checkbook out of his blue blazer. Writes a check for the study. Easiest grant I ever got. And I never got another one like that. But So we started doing research on the low-carb diet, Atkins diet, now known as the keto diet. The first phase of Atkins, known as Atkins induction, remember that language? It is actually a keto diet. So keto isn't a type of food, it's a metabolic state. It's fat burning. And so basically, you know, my brother, who's a Harvard, you know how you know someone went to Harvard? Just talk to him for a minute, and they'll tell you.
Like the guy from The Office went to Cornell. Ever heard of it?
Did you know I went to Duke? Yes, anyway. So my brother says, yeah, that's my brother, Eric. He validated the Atkins diet. And he goes, talks about himself. It took 20 years.
Jackie Everstein, and I know you've heard this, tells the story about Jackie Everstein, Dr. Atkins' nurse, but really ran the center with and for him sometimes. Fantastic person. She tells the story about she's there up in the office and Bob Atkins says he comes running into my office and said, guess who I just got off the phone with? I have no idea, Bob. Who? This kid from Duke. He wants to study our diet. And he was so excited that someone was actually...
Kid, I think it was professor, but not just a
He
kid.
definitely said kid.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
But Dr. Atkins, because he was...
No one ever asked him.
He was a
to do
clinician who knew it worked and he put it into thing, but...
In fact, he read it in a paper in the Journal of the American Medical Association. So he naively thought, oh, I'm reading this paper, I'll just start doing it. Years pass and people start, avoiding walking on this same side of the street because they thought he was killing people. And yet, so Dr. Atkins dies. After our first study, he knew the results of the second study, but our big one, but didn't see it published because he died in kind of a freak accident, slipping on the ice in New York City in Holy Week. It was Easter week. But Jackie Eberstein has been a friend and a mentor ever since, and she has 30 years of experience using the low carb diet that Atkins taught, that method. And I look at this page 4. Have you ever heard of page 4? It's the 4th page of the handout, and it's now in various versions. But the brilliance of it is that it blends a carb restriction, low carb, with low calorie, without even saying it. So if you teach and follow this method, there's some limited foods because they're high calorie. That's the cheese, the mayonnaise, the cream. It can get away from you. And so the brilliance of the method is that it kind of uses both calorie and carb restriction. And I'm a co-author on a paper that now in 2021, it was published last year, the academic people are together in a paper with like 20 authors saying, it's calories and it's carbs.
As opposed to just calories, a calorie, and restrict the calories. I actually have read about your paper that was comparing and I can't remember what the acronyms are, but it's anyway, I won't go into that, but it is.
I guess the irony is that Dr. Atkins knew this in 1970, and then it just was academic. So there's a huge town-gown split in the obesity world and diet world, where the academic ivory tower thinks they know it, and they look at what people say they eat and nutritional epidemiology, but the doctors in the trenches actually helping people were in the town knew this worked, and I had lingering questions about safety, but now I have no lingering question about safety, even to the point where I'll tell people to forget about your LDL. Forget about your LDL, for heaven's sake. If your triglyceride is down and your HDL's up, bring your doctors in and let's give them a tongue lashing. I had someone recently who lost 50 pounds, was doing great. I mean, she loved this. Comes back, she's regained 30. And I said, what happened? My doctor was upset. My LDL went up.
Oh dear.
It's to the point where if I didn't,
No, this is a thing, and people are, who here is, and that was a really great historical reference
Yeah.
of the ketogenic diet. Now let's get down to the meat, shall we? Does anybody have any,
well, there was one person who hadn't heard of me, so I thought I'd give them the whole shebang.
is anyone here having to push back with your medical providers about the way you are eating or deciding to eat, or has anyone changed doctors because of this? There's the hand. Was it a tough transit? Well, if you'd like to come down and share your story, that would be great. If you would, and she's coming on down, because this is a big deal. Some people are really, they feel badly if they're going against what their doctor says, and they also might be actually fearful that,
I know.
Is that working?
I think so.
Okay, I'm going to step out. Let me ask, and then, so you changed doctors? Okay, hold the microphone up. Here's a trick Kyle taught me. Put the microphone right on your chin. Was it because your doctor disagreed with what you were doing?
They just kept pushing weight loss medication.
Medication. Put it right up there. It feels weird.
It does.
So, yeah, medication. So instead of getting the problem, the upstream problem, which is, for many people, is the food choices, instead of dealing with it upstream, you deal with it downstream.
Should I tell you about my visit with the nutritionist?
Please do. Tell Dr. Westman.
It was enlightening. 60 grams of carbs per meal. Pancakes whenever I wanted them. Sugar-free syrup is okay.
Can you hear okay?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, no, not at all. You gotta yell.
So they just wanted me to continue to do the
60 carbs at every meal.
Mhm.
Have as many pancakes.
Yes, pancakes, waffles, Oh, yeah. And my blood sugar just kept going up.
And so did it work?
No, my blood sugar kept going up because I'm not doing this for weight loss. I am doing this to get off of diabetic medications. And
Now, that's the way to ensure you'll be on diabetic medications, is
Yeah.
60
Yeah, exactly.
carbs per meal plus
Exactly.
all the
That's-
pancakes you want.
yeah, now I have a doctor that's at least agreeable with me doing this, but they're still pushing weight loss medication. And I'm like, I'm not doing this for weight loss. I'm doing this for my blood sugar. Let's go over this again. And so we do this every single appointment of, this is why I'm here. What are we going to do different? And we never do anything different. So yeah, I had to switch doctors.
Yeah, so, but if you do a low-carb keto diet the way we teach it, you will lose weight and you will fix the diabetes. Both.
And I have lost some.
Yeah.
Menopause is a witch.
Yeah.
So we will have to say that. But it's, I still haven't come off all the medications. I've lost, close to 20 pounds. I have an appointment in January, so we'll talk about all that then.
Well, you mean, you don't need me.
Apparently I do. I've been doing this for 4 years now.
Well, so there are a couple of things to keep in mind. In a obesity medicine practice like I run, I have to get results, or people don't come back.
Right.
I mean, some people don't come back because they can't wrap their head around not eating carbs. I acknowledge that. I use medicine sometimes, but I see a pound or two of weight loss per week. Otherwise, it's gotta be, you gotta
And I
have
was
results
doing
or,
that.
or people aren't gonna come back.
That was working until I hit that age, which, you know what I'm talking
Well,
about.
so,
Yes, as an older person, I know what
Yes.
you're talking about.
I'm a semi-older person now.
well, and that's fantastic, and we'll figure out the detail. Remember, I'm doing a lot of unlearning of social eating, habit eating. That you don't have to eat 3 meals a day. Okay, that's about as silly as going to the gas station 3 times a day with a full gas tank just to fill it up and top it off.
That's one of the things that I've been working on,
Yeah,
is
so-
listening to hunger cues.
And so I want you to drop meal. It's not dropping meals. It's only eating when you're hungry. And yeah, it might take a little getting used to, and there may be behavioral things like, focusing on I'm intermittent fasting, which means I'm 1 meal a day, and I mean,
I just had my first meal today.
and so I don't,
I'm doing all the
I don't really
things.
care how you call it. You have to eat less to lose weight, not more. That, and it's just, there's a meme, internet weirdness out there that, oh, I'm not eating enough. In fact, I've
It's
had
perfect.
people tell me dietitians say that. But you're not eating enough, you're in starvation mode.
Oh,
You
for
mean
heaven's
You need to
the
eat
5
more.
meals a day?
Yeah. You
Five
know,
meals.
No,
a day.
yeah, no, that's nuts.
That was
That
the other
it's not-
thing
excuse me.
nutritionist told me.
That's not scientific.
Yes.
it's nuts. You know, it's illogical. You know, people say if you don't eat enough, your metabolism slows down. So you need to eat every couple of hours to rev up your metabolism. Well, hell, so why don't I just eat every 15 minutes? My metabolism will be on fire and I will become see-through. That is not the way it works.
Well, there are a growing number of keto-friendly doctors in our area. And the Duke Metamont group, there are a couple nurse practitioners there who are keto-friendly, meaning they won't give you grief if you come in saying you're not eating carbs. Although you could also just go in and say you're eating a Mediterranean diet, and everyone's happy with that. They don't know what it is. They don't care what it is.
I just tell them I've cut out the sugar.
Yeah, just that's great. That's healthy.
Yeah.
But don't say keto.
Yeah, no.
Oh no.
Yeah, I learned that.
Don't say
the hard way.
Atkins.
Thank you for sharing and congratulations.
Yeah.
Yay! So, just to let you know my story, I am not a patient, never have been of Dr. Westman's. He's just a big fan of mine. He's a stalker, and so I decided to help. I was morbidly obese, or I was overweight, obese, and morbidly obese for 30 years, from my mid-50s to my, reverse that, mid-20s to my mid-50s. And I tried all the stuff you try. If you go to my blog, you can see the photographs of the year of the triathlon. Triathlons, that was scary. I was perfectly round. People would say, why don't you get in shape? I'd say, round is a shape. And that didn't work. The move more, eat less, it was punitive, it was painful, it was frustrating, it was ineffective. So I gave up on losing weight. I decided that the universe, its plan for me was to be the fat, funny, witty friend, but fat being the thing. But I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes, which was, I knew, on the schedule for my next doctor's appointment. So I Googled how to not take insulin for type 2 diabetes. And I came across the white coat video of Dr. Eric Westman, that kid from Duke. And in the white coat video, it was, keep your carbohydrate limits at 20 or fewer a day. And if it's not on page 4, don't eat it. I mean, you have to, Dr. Westman he's not outspoken.
Speak softly.
Speak
and
softly.
Cut the carbs.
And it make people eat off the carbs. If it's not on page 4, don't eat it. And eat when you're hungry. And this is like being in England, where they drive on the other side of the road.
You got mesmerized.
I was like, well, you know what it was? Is I knew low carb worked for me. I knew it in 1977 when I got that book, the Atkins Diet Revolution. I had put on 13 pounds in college. I decided to take them off. I got the book. I lost the weight. I threw the book away. And then, but I was cute and young, and I was a young person. It was a different situation for me. And then I knew again in the early 2000s when I started doing, kind of had a resurgence. And then I did what people do. Oh, then life came at me. Life happened. And I went, and there's a long story about it. I won't bore anyone with it, but there's this story of the pyramid of the bagels that were in front of me, and I'd gotten a problematic medical diagnosis. And I looked at the bagels, I said, I'm eating a bagel. And people around me knew I'm not eating carbs, and I'd lost about 25 pounds. Casey, why are you looking at the bagels like that? I'm gonna eat me a bagel. Don't. I ate the bagel. And that led to mashed potatoes, which led to all of the weight gain, and I still had the problem I had that made me eat the bagel in the first place. It didn't solve anything. So anyway, white coat video, I knew that it would work. I didn't want to take insulin for diabetes. Lay off the carbs, just keep it 20, I can do that. And that was January 8th, 2014. And that was 97.4 pounds ago. Oh, wow is right. I started, I had bought, I think my cutting off point was actually, I was wearing the largest size jeans Costco had on the table. Those Gloria Vanderbilt whatever they are, Andrea jeans, whatever, with the lycra. I was 24W. And these are a size 6, not Gloria Vanderbilt. And all I did was change the food. And my doctor was skeptical, but now she says, oh, whatever you're doing, keep it up. So that's my story. You don't have to go to a doctor to be told what to eat because they don't know anyway. A lot of them don't know. Many do or are learning. Many doctors have learned from their patients, which is exactly what Dr. Westman just shared. He learned from some patients, and then he took it a bit further. So, don't feel like you have to do what a doctor says, and certainly that LDL stuff, our doctor is pretty sure my husband's next phone call will be to the undertaker because he's a hyper-responder, lean mass hyper-responder. His LDL's in the stratosphere. That's the way it just goes.
Thank you for that. And someone saw, so I'm sending people to watch my white coat video. If you YouTube Dr. Westman Duke diet video, it's one of the ones that come up after all of the different ads and stuff. But it's a younger me. The jokes are terrible, and it was a totally unrehearsed class that was just videoed by chance by, if you remember, Jen Nolan, who was a postdoc doing lots of work with Doris, who was a woman with schizophrenia, who kind of started the metabolic psychiatry movement as the patient, like ground zero. But so she did this video. There's someone coughing in the middle of it, and it still works really well. So that's kind of like the free class that you can take online. I think today I was showing it to one of my patients. Now I assign you this video to watch with this handout, and there are 405,000 views. Now, I calculate I've probably had about 12,000 through my office, yet there are 400,000 views. That's pretty cool. And it's a here's what you do kind of video. It's not talking about here's what the diet does. I have a lot of those videos out there because I talk at medical meetings and give summaries about what it does. But so check out the white coat video or Dr. Westman Duke diet video on YouTube, and that will get you started. She said, "Oh, you had brown hair then." Oh man, she was all full of it.
I'm just so happy to see an older person like you talking to groups like this.
Well, that's true. All my friends have either retired to fancy. I'm just kidding.
Does anyone have a question? No, this is, yes, sir. This is a very straightforward protocol. It's simple, which doesn't mean it's easy. You can pretty much, lay off the carbs, but that doesn't make it easy.
Hey, thanks for coming out.
Sure. So I'm Rick Silver. I just took your online course, Adapt Your Life Academy. It was fantastic.
Keto Made Simple.
Keto Made Simple, yeah. It was terrific. So my question is about artificial sweeteners. I drink a ton of Diet Coke, and I've heard other people, nutritionists, say that the problem with that is that it's sweet so that it sends insulin out, but there's nothing for the insulin to attack, so you gain weight. What do you think about that?
Have you seen any evidence other than someone saying that?
No.
Yeah, me either. And
I hear it a lot, though.
And in your class experience, you were having Diet Coke. Did you achieve some results?
I did.
While having Diet Coke?
Yep.
Interesting. So that's why I ignore what they say until data are shown. But I will give I have a standing. I'll buy you a Diet Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, whatever, if you can find data that shows insulin going up after having an artificial sweetener, non-sugar sweetener, in the context of a low-carb diet. There is one study that was miscited, inappropriately cited by that doctor up in Toronto. I forget his name. He talks about fasting a lot. But anyway, it was in the context of people eating carbs if you gave artificial sweeteners, they were able to have regular carbs too. So they ate more or drank more carbs, but you're not allowed to have carbs. So you're having Diet Coke or Pepsi or whatever, and it's keeping you away from the carbs. So it's a different context entirely. And I've had thousands and thousands of people use the non-sugar sweeteners, and I don't know which one is better than another. And so in the short run, don't worry about it. Now, sweet. Is that sweet? So, but a year from, so let's say fast forward, you're down, so I typically see 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss per week. That's 4 to 8 per month, 50 to 100 per year. So let's say it's a year from now, you're down 100 pounds and you're at a stall. Now that might be a time to talk about the non-sugar sweeteners. And I say that because other things change. You should normally start, eat less over time, but then, there's so much food around and people like to eat and, habit eating, all that. And there are enough, people, we call these credible anecdotes. So it's not just, Joe Smith, it's someone who's had an experience, and so it's a credible anecdote. And Christy Sullivan has sent me a lot of these folks who are at, downstream, they're at a stall. All they do is change the artificial sweeteners, and then they get off of a stall. The problem with an anecdote like that is it's not carefully controlled, and there might be something else going on. Let's say you stopped all the artificial sweeteners, which meant you also stopped having Atkins bars, and it was the Atkins bar that was the problem, not the artificial sweeteners. So that's called a confounder. But trust what's happening to you right now, and that is you're having the Diet Coke. Don't let anyone tell you it's not working, because it is. There you go. You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed the class. So for those who, we have lots of different ways of teaching, and based on your style of learning. If you go to www.ericwestmanmd.com, that's my website that will direct you to the page 4, the one-pager list of foods, the book, and your carb confusion, and then Adapt Your Life Academy, which is what you were just mentioning, which gives classes at a small fee, but you get tons of support to get started. And there's a sugar addiction class which is slated to start next month. So if you're interested in learning about sugar addiction, Dr. Vera Tarman, who's from Toronto, not the Dr. Fung from Toronto. I like Dr. Fung, but you don't have to fast. But Dr. Vera Tarman has written a wonderful course for Adapt Your Life Academy, which is my company, and it teaches you about sugar addiction and what to do about it, a lot of behavioral techniques. And so if you find yourself just unable to get off, get that sugar monkey off your back, then you might consider signing up on the wait list at adaptyourlifeacademy.com. But thanks and well done.
You might notice I've been sipping on a zero sugar Sprite, and I've consumed non-sugar sodas throughout the entire thing. But I also consumed diet sodas when I was stopping at McDonald's and getting 2 Big Mac meals, because that's what you do. You get the Big Mac meal and you get a Diet Coke. So without separating, like you were referencing, without separating the non-sugar sweetener from what else is being consumed, doesn't make any sense. Because when I was a kid, I drank Tab because I was trying to. But everything else was essentially sugar that was coming into my mouth, but not the soda.
I went away to a meeting. I'm back.
That was fast.
So
I didn't even see him leave.
I got an update on the lean mass hyper. I missed your quip.
It was a good quip.
It was a good one. Good. I'm glad. But so, has anyone heard of lean mass hyperresponder? Yeah. So those who have a super high LDL on a low carb keto diet, happens maybe 1% of the time. So an LDL, you would want it to be, let's say, 150. This lean mass hyperresponder, someone who has a high response, might have an LDL of 300, not 150 or 200. Your doctors usually freak out when your LDL is about 200. These people have LDLs of 300, 400.
2,000?
Not quite that high. I haven't seen one that high. Have you?
Hernan has really high LDL. My husband,
Yeah.
who is lean, and everything else is perfect except the LDL, which of course drives up the overall cholesterol.
So if LDL is the cause, and I can find 1,000 articles published saying LDL is the cause of heart disease. I don't think it's true, but you can find articles that say that. They're out there, and people show me, and they all get all upset. So no. So if it is the cause, then these people should get heart disease soon. Yeah, and they're not. So instead of what most doctors will do, including me, if you go back to my first study, I made someone stop because the LDL went up because I was afraid of it. But that was 20 years ago for me, and so. Now, most doctors will just say, hey, look, your LDL went up, you better get off that diet, right? No, Dave Feldman, who's a computer programmer and just kind of citizen scientist extraordinaire who started studying himself multiple times a day, found that cholesterol goes up and down throughout the day. Did you know that? I didn't know that. It goes up and your LDL will go up and down, 50 points throughout the day. And yet a doctor will take the fasting reading and make a decision about you being on a pill forever based on that reading. If this variation in cholesterol was known in the 1970s when this was all started, this is a scandal. This was burying information that you just can't make a decision on something that is not reliable, like a signal like that. So anyway, Dave, who is a lean mass hyperresponder himself, his LDL is high, he likes following a low carb diet, decided to study it. Not just say, don't do it, or forget you, I'm gonna do it. He raised money in a GoFundMe to the tune of several $100,000. He's probably gonna need more money, by the way, because studies always cost more. So he's flying people, if you have a high LDL cholesterol, to LA to get a CT angiogram, which is a non-invasive CAT scan that shows you the inside of your coronary artery. The technology is amazing. And why couldn't, we can see things on the moon. Why couldn't we see an artery here, And so he's got the world's leader of the CT angiogram machine as the leader of this study. So he just presented in San Diego at Low Carb USA, now called Society for Metabolic Health, SMH, the early report of the first scan that people got. So the idea is your LDL's high, you have to have had it high for 2 years, you come in, get a scan, you log in everything you eat for the next year, you're in ketosis, you have to prove it, and then at a year you'll get another scan. And if LDL is the cause of heart disease, these people should have some progression or the starting of the disease in the arteries, right? That's the idea. Well, he presented the first 60 people at the meeting. The first results, many of these have had LDL elevations for over the 2-year minimum, and nobody had more than a 5 or 8, so I think 8. The scale goes from 0 to 1,000. And basically, if it's 0, that means you have no coronary calcification, no coronary disease. And so the first 60, if you were just taking Americans like us and put you in the CT scanner, we're going to get 50% of us are going to have some disease. So to have a group of 60 people have pretty much no disease, either LDL is not a cause, or these are all selected genetically people who are never going to get coronary disease to begin with. But all I'm trying to say is that Mr. Feldman, he has no MD, no masters or anything, has designed a study that is really going to be shocking. In fact, his first results were so shocking, people are already rending their clothes and throwing ashes on themselves, and because really it's kind of like a spiritual cleansing. It's not science we're talking about that these other people are talking about. It's almost like a religion of belief of cholesterol. And so anyway, that was really interesting. So the final study is not in. They're like 60% enrolled, so he still needs people with high LDL levels. And you go to the website cholesterolcode.com. It'll send you to the citizenscience.org website. You fill in the form, see if you qualify. But you get a free trip to LA. You know, I'm sure you get the frequent flyer miles, but that was an exciting. That was Low Carb USA, now called Society for Metabolic Health.
Thank you for that scientific update, Dr. Westman.
You're welcome. Was that too technical?
No, but it affects 1% of the population and probably nobody here, but that was really interesting to know. But the moral of the story is...
No, this could break down, this could bring down the whole cholesterol hypothesis.
LDL and statin. You know,
statins
statins work well against LDL, but who cares? If LDL is not a problem, why are you fixing a problem? And it doesn't even work that much on women at all, and only on men who've had a cardiac event, right? I mean, statins are, talk about a scam.
Yeah, well.
So no, that was very good. This is about how science changes, and just on the drive here from Greensboro, I was listening to NPR, and there was the Odono, who was the Japanese soldier who refused to surrender from World War II. It became his belief system.
20 years.
For 29 years, after the end of World War II. They were talking about how it became his belief system, and people get sucked into a belief system, which is exactly what the whole LDL thing is. But that was good, and okay, anywho, moving on. So, yes, ma'am.
After you lost all your weight and you was doing the 20 grams a day, did you continue with the 20 grams, or were you able to move up to maybe?
Okay, now see, personally, I have a little issue with the moving on up.
Oh.
I became obese in my mid-20s. I like to think that I'm just highly evolved, and that my system was ready for the coming zombie apocalypse, so that I could store food and fat when I needed it, when the zombies are trying to rip everybody's faces off. That's not really it. I just am prone to that. So for me, I went from 20 grams to about 9. I just don't, well, one thing, I don't eat that much food. I'm not eating food arbitrarily, but I'm an older person apparently, and I'm smaller than I used to be.
But still cute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm youthful. Anyway, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have. This is the thing. One reason I started Go Keto with Casey is because I started recognizing how much of my life I left. Because one thing, I didn't feel good about myself. I was self-conscious. I was sore. I was uncomfortable. I was perfectly round. I bumped into things. I wouldn't go to wine bistros because the little tiny cute little bistro chairs, I'm not going to sit on one of those because I know what's happening. It's going to break. I wouldn't sit in the lawn chairs at my son's soccer on the sidelines because the chair would sink into the ground. So I would be there for a while. I couldn't stand up for long because I was so heavy. So I go back and sit in the car. You start removing yourself from your own life. And think of all the cleverness and the entrepreneurship and the volunteerism and the art and the wit and the just being a nice person the world is missing out on, because some of us are sitting at home on our sofa feeling really bad and eating the low-fat Cheerios with the skim milk out of a Jethro Bodine bowl with sugar on it, and then thinking, I don't even want this. Why am I doing this? And then you're all only thinking about the next bowl full. And then car eating. Did anybody ever do car eating? Secret car eat? Come on now. More people have, thank you, Kyle. car eating is when you eat in the car and you throw away all the evidence because, you know, you get all the wrappers, you stop at a gas station before you get home, throw all the wrappers into the garbage. So, you know, my husband doesn't know how much I weigh because he can do math. And he knows how much weight I've lost. I'm afraid he'll leave me retroactively if he realizes how heavy I was, which is ridiculous because he has eyeballs and hands, and we sleep together. He knows I was a big person. But you fool yourself. It's lies you tell yourself. You try to pretend. It's like trying to hold two contradictory ideas in your head at one time, which is F. Scott Fitzgerald said is a sign of either insanity or genius. I think it's genius. So anyway, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have stood here for that long. But anyway, so no, I didn't go back up in carbs because it just wouldn't work for me. So I've gotten progressively fewer carbs because I eat fewer veg, because I eat less food, and the food I'm going to eat is going to be very nutrient dense, fatty sources of protein with a lot of eggs because we have 39 chickens.
But you can possibly add back carbs. So depending on the metabolism, what I'll explain is, look, I'm teaching you a tool, a method to get you to a goal. And then you can decide whatever you want to do there at that goal. And I'll be there, if you're seeing me, I'm your doctor, I'll be there with you and we'll decide. You know, if you what's the language, get off the rails and fall off. I've seen people regain 50 pounds from November, from Thanksgiving to Easter, because they didn't come back. They were embarrassed. They had holiday after holiday after holiday. So they lost weight 50 over the summer, and they come back, they regain. At least they came back. So a lot of people don't come back. So if you're someone who has some element of sugar addiction, you can't moderate. And a lot of the people who gravitate toward this method end up having that. I don't know the exact percent, but so you may or may not want to reintroduce carbs. In short, you want to do it slowly and carefully and with controls, like you wouldn't go out and buy a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts and bring them in your house. I mean, you just don't do that.
Or maybe Kyle would.
I heard there's a book that can help people determine their carb allotment.
Well, thanks, Kyle. So my latest book, End Your Carb Confusion, thank you, right there. White with the purple letters and the fork and spoon and knife. End Your Carb Confusion can give you a kind of a guide to show you what we think might be your end result, but it's really trial and error. But you can read a book. If you like to read books, you can take a course. You can just come to a group like this. Did we answer your question? I mean, yeah. So in Casey's situation, she just realized that she doesn't want to, really can't add back carbs and still have control. Would that be?
Yeah.
You even got mad at me about the chaffles.
I just hate that stupid name.
Well, because it represented a trigger.
Okay,
food, right?
no, well, it wasn't for me.
Oh.
Okay, so does everybody know what a stupid chaffle is?
Stop it.
So it's actually just a chaffle, not a stupid chaffle.
Truffles are awesome.
Okay, so.
Cheese and egg waffle.
Cheese and egg. Okay, so first of all, because, this is, great, it's just cheese and egg. Oh, and it's great. You put on a little stupid chaffle maker and you come out with a little stupid chaffle.
It's called a
great.
waffle.
And it's just okay. It's because it's just egg and cheese. That's perfectly fine, and it is. You know what else started out that way that'd be perfectly fine because it's perfectly low carb and keto? Fat bombs. And then you come up with 4,000 recipes for fat bombs that now you're incorporating, pecans and, whatever. And then, but it's just a fat bomb, and it's just a thing, and it's low carb, and then you eat 7 of them. Well, okay, so there were
then this won't work.
There was the stupid chaffle thing that came up, and sure enough, I looked, and there was but it's just 2 ingredients. What are the ingredients?
Shredded cheese and eggs.
So there's a Facebook group, Chaffle Recipes, 5,000 members. what do you need a recipe for? If it's just 2 ingredients, no, because then you start putting in, I put a little
Cinnamon
jam
toast
in
truffle.
cinnamon toast
Everything
truffles.
bagel
And if
truffle.
one is good, I can make 2. I can make a breakfast
There's a
sandwich.
Wonder Bread truffle.
So you can have 2 and make an egg sandwich. I'll make an egg McDurango with a stupid chaffle. So that's 2 now. So that's 2 eggs and 2 things of cheese. It would be great. I could have a BLT. So that's 2 more. And why not have my burger? So now you've eaten 6 chaffles in a day, but it's okay because they're low carb and it's a stupid name.
I think you win. You want to use in moderation, of course.
But everything, see, I don't have a problem with a lot of stuff but mashed cauliflower. For some reason, mashed cauliflower,
You can't stop eating.
no, see, I don't use words like can't stop because obviously I can stop. I was going to wear a different shirt here tonight. I was going to wear a shirt that reads, I'm stronger than a cookie, which is my best-selling t-shirt. Because we tell ourselves what we can't do, and that it's too hard, and that it's irresistible, and that I am a victim of the cookie, or the whatever. Of course we can. Everyone that gets to the age of majority has been through something. We've been through heartbreak and buried people, and bankruptcy, and terrible bosses, and we can't resist a cookie? We can't resist a cookie? We can't put down the Snickers bar? I told myself for decades that I couldn't go the rest of my life without eating tortilla chips. I said it out loud. And I couldn't until I did. And now I just don't care about tortilla chips. No, I'm not going to increase my carbs because why? I'm very healthy, I'm very strong, and they don't enhance my life. Living enhances my life. You know, food is not love, by the way. Love is love. Food is fuel, and it's not sport, and it's not entertainment. And for some people, food is hate, because you tell the story of the guy.
Dr. Paul Rote in Minnesota. Well, no, he's moved into Wisconsin. Interesting. Anyway, we got to go around the country doing Saturday Adapt events. What a blessing it was. And then the COVID hit. And we did a couple this year. We probably will start doing them next year again. So our method is I would find a bunch of people in Chicago who I knew from our national group or through low carb means, and we'd all get together on Saturday, have 150, 200 people come that day to learn, and I would do the page 4 list, anyway, whatever was popular at the moment. And Dr. Rote is a physician who told a different story. It wasn't, food is love, and he's kind of this mild-mannered guy, and he'd get up and he'd say, "My mom cooked with hate." And he looked, she had 2 cookbooks. The I Hate to Cook Cookbook Volume 1 and the I Hate to Cook Cookbook Volume 2. And she would put it on the table, and it was just hilarious. And then he says, "Yeah, I called Mom the other day and told her that, well, at least I fed you, didn't I?" So anyway,
Yes.
food sometimes is hate. And actually, he is not raising his children with the same style. He's actually quite a chef in having his kids learn how to cook. And of all strange coincidences, he ended up where I was a medical student in Southwest Wisconsin as a practitioner now. So he's in, if you know that area of Wisconsin, it's where Spring Green and Frank Lloyd Wright had his summer home, Taliesin. But so anyway, it's just very, very interesting. So I got to meet just wonderful doctors and people around the non-doctor people around the country, and hope to do that again next year as well. Many of you may have come to the Raleigh event here, the ADAPT event on Saturday. Yeah. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments or feedback or observations? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would like to address something that I don't think I've heard today, and that is the fact that this can get confusing. The reason I'm going there is I'm an old guy, and I started this back in the early 70s. And
Guys, can you rephrase that? Because with the
Yeah. Can you paraphrase that?
What I'm trying to make is, that even part of the eating thing, it's not keto. I mean, people try to get it to become my enemy. But I would eat things that weren't on the diet, not real life, because I was listening to something wrong with these.
And I'm going to restate that. Thank you for that. So the question is essentially, can you address confusion? And there is a lot of conflicting information. A lot of it's just made up, pull out of the air. And it is something that Dr. Westman refers to as internet keto. And honestly, in my opinion, a lot of it stems from products that people are trying to sell, whether they have official products or they just get affiliate links. I'm a nobody from nothing. I'm just a former fatty with a channel. And I get contacted constantly about becoming an affiliate for all kinds of cockamamie products. And some people are doing that, and so there's just not much of a way to get around that. But the protocol, as I learned it from the white coat video and have practiced it, is pretty simple. Keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day. Total carbs, not net. If it's not on page 4, don't eat it. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop eating when you're satiated. And then I've added, be patient. So do you want to talk about your thoughts on internet keto and then the actual Dr. Westman?
Yeah, and you also mentioned that you were gaining weight doing what the internet told you should do. And there are a lot of influencers who aren't. So be careful. If you're an influencer or someone who's teaching on the internet, right? An influencer didn't use it for your purpose. So let's say they're in the gym. They're buff and they never need to lose weight, and they're having 150 grams of fat a day, and you need to have this. And well, is that what you're trying to accomplish? No, you're trying to lose weight, or maybe you are trying to do that. But anyway, so beware of what the influencer used keto to do. So if you had epilepsy and you had to be very careful about your macros, and you had to be in ketosis all day long, and the influencer is teaching you about the ketogenic diet for epilepsy, then you need to be really strict all day long and measure things and all that. If you're, so I think the most trusted sources are doctors who are in a clinic or have been in a clinic for many years. So and doctor loosely defined, yeah, I mean, yes, you can be a doctor of medical or osteopathic or chiropractic. If you've been in the trenches, having people come back and saying, you know, what you told me didn't work, that's what you want. You want the clinical experience to be able to tailor it to an individual. And if you're gaining weight doing what you think is internet keto, you're not doing the prescription strength keto that I teach. And most people now have heard about me. It was from that peer-reviewed journal at the checkout called Woman's World. Did you see that? Well, it was only a week, and then they disappear. But I made fun of that once, and this woman, the adaptive, that's where I learned about you, Woman's World. And I joke because it's not a peer-reviewed journal. But anyway, little geeky scientific humor. So if you get, so actually Sam Feltham talked about another paper. A young man in the UK specifically ate 5,600 calories per day for 21 days of 3 different diets. So this is, you know, about twice as much as he would really need to eat. And then he stopped the diet, got back, and then did the other diet and the other diet. He did a high carb, 5,600 calories a day for 21 days. He gained 11 pounds. He did a low carb, 5,600 calories a day, keto. He gained 3 pounds. He gained weight, but not as much as the high carb. And then in the middle, the fiber, vegetable, was 7 pounds. So the total calories exactly the same. The weight gain different. And then you read what he says. On the low carb, I had trouble eating the food. I just was full of it. I made myself eat the 5,600 calories a day for 21 days. And then on the high carb one, it was like, I'm so bloated, I can't do this, it's terrible. You know, I just feel terrible, but he did it. And I helped him put it into a publication because he had pictures of before and after, and he had meticulous records of what he ate so that he documented his own one experiment. But yes, you can gain weight by being in ketosis. Ketosis just means you're a fat burner. You can be gaining weight as a fat burner. And I think the insulin is the fattening hormone, but protein elicits a little bit of an insulin response. Not anything like a carbohydrate insulin response. But so find a new source, new internet source if what you're doing isn't achieving what you think it should be doing. And you know, gravitate toward the doctors who have used it in
Or even
clinic.
non-doctors. There are some older person
yes.
non-doctors, people who are older people who are not doctors.
Or go keto with Casey
Yes,
Durango,
yes.
of
Don't
course.
have to be a daggone doctor.
Well, but how did you learn your method?
I watched this white coat video.
Yeah, and I learned from Dr. Atkins.
Yeah, there you go.
And
And then
Jack
my
Evans.
husband learned from me, and then he took down to Colombia, South America, where they call it the Durango diet.
Yeah.
I have another
You want to come on down?
Come on out.
Well, not
Or
really.
hand the mic.
I think I'm loud enough.
Can we give you the
Okay,
mic?
I have a question.
This is for the people watching.
Oh,
So,
I'm sorry. I'm
yeah.
They're
sorry.
not watching you, they just.
Oh, they want to hear. Okay. What is it about carbs that makes like you have like a top belly and a bottom belly? What is it about carbs that make like the top? Like I feel bloated
Yeah.
all the like
Do you
at
really?
the top.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a nurse.
A nurse.
We know what you're talking about. We're nurses too.
Well, you can
Nurse thing.
you can handle this then. It's bacteria. Bloating from the gut bacteria. It's called the microbiome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. So just don't have them. It'll be fine.
Lay off the
But now,
carbs.
now that we have a couple nurses, how much nutrition training did you get in training?
Not a lot.
Not a lot, yeah. Yeah, it's like,
very little.
yeah, very little. And the classic medical care today is medication care. So I'm not surprised that you were given medications from your doctor, because that's all doctors do today, is prescribe pills. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Yeah.
So I'm also a nurse.
Hold it up
I'm
way
also
high.
a nurse, but I'm not going to ask about bloating. I've struggled a lot with keto flu, a lot. Like, so I started off really bad with keto flu, and then and then I've also on pain medicines for my arthritis, so they changed that around. So I've really struggled to eat, although I've lost 25 pounds. Thank you very much. In like 6 weeks, right? And so what I've tried to do is I take electrolytes and then I eat. I eat because I can't have too much water, arthritis, because I run for the bathroom. So I eat a bouillon cube every day, and it seems to work, but I still struggle some. And I
With,
with keto flu.
what do you mean by that?
I mean, like, when I get keto flu, so the first week or two, I really was queasy, nauseous every day, all day, and could barely eat, barely drink, all day. And one day I was so sick, I drank probably a cup and a half of pickle juice. I had my brother couldn't find the bouillon, so I had him take 2 ramen noodle packets, and I drank both of those, and I had without the noodles, obviously. And I just, finally, I woke up the next day, and I felt amazingly better. But then the day after that, I was right back.
So what do you have in the morning when you get up?
I usually have a low-carb yogurt with electrolytes in it, and some water and/or a soda. And I have usually like egg, so either boiled eggs and some other protein, and then a cheese for a snack, like an ounce of cheese for a snack.
So
And-
any coconut oil in the morning?
No, I will if you want me to.
No, I don't. Are you on it? Are you?
No, usually in olive oil or whatever, if that. And then,
So no, don't drink oils.
no, sir.
Good. And then, do you take metformin?
No, sir.
So and,
I'm not diabetic at all.
Yeah, no, but so what you're telling me is extremely rare in
Well,
the way I
I've been,
teach it.
I've been incredibly ill.
So it's probably because of the underlying conditions you have, the medication, are you taking other medicines?
So I am on other medicines. They switched I had been on Neurontin, gabapentin for arthritis, and 3 weeks or so ago, they stopped that and started me on Tegretol for the nerve pain, which was fine, and that's appetite suppressant. So I was like, okay, I can handle that.
Do you mean
And so-
Topamax?
No.
Tegretol.
Tegretol.
No,
For,
I don't use that for appetite
I
suppression.
promise.
No.
Tegretol for nerve pain.
I understand.
So, but it's also an appetite suppressant. So I
Well,
started
it's
taking
not
it.
on the list that I use as an obesity medicine doctor.
I know. It's,
So you're taking a pain medicine?
yeah, so it's for pain, for my
No, a
arthritis.
different one.
Yeah, and
Norco.
meloxicam.
So it's that element of it was what's going on. So it doesn't mean you can't do this.
Oh, no. I'm
So
just
you're not
saying,
having keto flu.
I'm having
it's-
something.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
But for people who are watching
Yeah.
and listening, you're on a bunch of different medicines. You have
Yeah,
tough medical problems going on. Most people sail through without any issue
Okay,
with
good. So
keto
it's
flu.
something different.
And
Okay.
well, so I just want to say, you came in like most people thinking this was keto flu.
Yeah.
When I can help figure that out
Great.
because now teaching people on the internet at 600 people at a time.
Okay, I don't
This
want
is-
people to feel bad. This is wonderful. I lost weight. Don't leave Dr. Westman.
No, but I
Dr.
want
Westman, good.
So the things I think about if someone does have nausea are
Yeah.
other medicines.
Yeah.
And it could be the gabapentin, it could be the Tegretol.
Okay.
It could be, I've become that doctor I said I never would be, the doctor who says any medicine can do anything.
Yeah, I
So-
do believe that. I've been a nurse a long time. I've seen it.
There you go.
I just know the first week I'm pretty sure was keto flu. And it could be that. I definitely know the Tegretol has suppressed my appetite. Like I'll have 2 or 3 bites and I'll feel stuffed. And then, because they had me titrate my dose up, and so I'll just feel stuffed.
Yeah, so this is complicated.
Yeah, and so, and it's fine, but then I'll wax and wane between the, what I think is keto flu, because I'll just have that same nausea, queasiness that I've had.
Yeah, so that's
For-
not just the diet.
Yeah,
Something else
Okay.
going
maybe
on.
you could have a little chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Because this sounds really
But again,
unique.
love Dr. Westman. Listen to him; he's world renowned.
Yeah, no, but this is the kind of what's the gnarly problems that arise when you're using something that's powerful as a drug, which is just diet change, and someone's already on all these other drugs and other problems, and even fibromyalgia gets better, all these other things that doctors say can't get better, all these things. It's fascinating, and we're presenting this year data on heart failure reversal, which isn't supposed to be able to be accomplished. And so we have cases of people with heart failure going from 20% squeeze to 50%, which is normal. And then I just learned from Steve Finney, he announced at the Society of Metabolic Health, they're doing a study with heart failure. Finney and Voldick, who are part of the Verta Health diabetes company, are now going to be funded to do a heart failure reversal study. Heart failure.
With a diet that was supposed to cause
Heart problems.
Heart problems.
Isn't that just totally deliciously
ironic. It is ironic. Who here has heard that if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, you'll have it for the rest of your life and it's incurable? Well, well, that's wrong. And the ketogenic protocol does not cause non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It fixes it. So be careful of your internet people, because some people just flat out wrong, and some people want to tell you that there's a problem so that they can sell you a product to fix the problem. Or they want to make it complicated so they can sell you something to make it simple. Because this is actually quite simple, which doesn't mean it's easy, because most of this is about behavior. It's almost all about behavior. Yes, ma'am? You want to come down? Come on, come on.
So, back in 2018, my client was your patient, and she was getting ready to have a gastric bypass, but they referred her to you. So she said, I don't want to do the diet. You can have the paper. So she gave me the page, the whole thing. So I said, I'll do it. So I started January the 2nd, 2018. I lost 67 pounds by October. It was the best I ever felt in my adult life. But then I fell off the wagon.
Holidays.
Holidays. The States Fair. And then the holidays. And I know how good it made me feel. And it's like my whole life changed. It's every area of my life changed. Down to finances. Everything. I know how good it is for me, but mentally I just can't.
Yes, you can.
I haven't been able to
Yeah,
get myself.
now you're getting into my place. Here we go.
It'll work again.
This is no, absolutely.
It'll work.
And I told you, I knew in 1977, I knew in the early 2000s. And then I started telling, well, I just obviously can't do this. I obviously can't do it. We tell ourselves, we speak to ourselves in a way we would never speak to another person we care about. And we wouldn't allow anyone else to speak to our kids that way. But we tell ourselves, I can't do this, or it's too hard, you start to, this was me. All I can do is talk about my experience. Not only when I was feeling really badly about myself and all the health was going to start to go in the wrong direction, I felt guilty because I created the issue. It was, I've been diagnosed and treated for cancer 3 times in my life. First time when I was pregnant with our 3rd child, very dramatic. And that day, January 2014, I got off the phone with my brother who'd just been diagnosed with type 2, and I knew I was on deck. I knew that I might die of cancer, and I could somehow explain that to my loved ones, but I couldn't face telling them I might lose a foot or a kidney or my eyesight because I have diabetes because I caused it. And that guilt makes you feel worse, and then you start to salve your guilt with a little stop at Mickey D's, and then you feel bad on the way home, and then you say, well, let's get pizza because that'll make me feel better. And then you eat the pizza, and sometimes you eat the pizza in the middle of the night, and then you wake up the next morning and say, tomorrow's it. I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. And then you have Pop-Tarts. You know, you might make it through the first meal of the day, whatever that is, but you don't. So here's the thing. I told myself what I couldn't do. I had my line in the sand was insulin. For some people, it's the size of jeans. For some people, it's needing a seatbelt extender on an airplane. For some people, it's being heavier than their husband. For some people, it's always feeling like the fattest person in the room. And whether or not I always was the fattest person in the room, I felt like I was the fattest person in the room. And what you have to do is one mouthful at a time. One decision. You know it works, so logically, you felt better. You know it didn't cost you anything to do it. You got a free piece of paper from somebody who had to go to have bariatric surgery. You got a piece of paper. It is what we tell ourselves, and it's behavior. This is not an involuntary action. It's not like Tourette's of the arms, right? We're not feeding ourselves uncontrollably. It's not a neurological disorder. We put food in our mouth, and we can tell ourselves it's because we are just too addicted to it. We can tell ourselves what we want. You got to stop putting the food in your mouth, and what you need to do is lay off the carbs, state fair or not. You know, go get a hot dog at the state fair. Just don't get the fried dough, and don't get a fried Twinkie. I mean, it sounds fantastic, but they sell fried Twinkies. But that's where the "this is simple, but it's not easy" comes in. First, you got to work on yourself. Then you got to tell your mother-in-law, "No, I don't want the apple pie." And then you got to deal with the holidays. But we always have this. You know, we always have mashed potato casserole with marshmallows on top. One decision at a time. What is it? The 12-step programs are brilliant. You know, you don't tell yourself what you're not going to eat for the rest of your life. You just say, I might have tortilla chips tomorrow, but I'm not having them today. Or I might have them in 25 minutes, but I'm not having them now. And then every time you do that, one thing, not only are you going to start to be physiologically, it's going to be better, but then you don't feel like such a failure. And you build on success, because what I did was I built on failure. It was like another brick on my back. So you can do it. You will do it or you won't. But it's not because you can't. If you don't do it, it's because you didn't do it. It's not because you couldn't do it. Because you can do it. Think of 5 things you've been through in your life. You don't have to share them. 5 things. Everybody can, boom, 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 that was a terrible day. How did I make it through that? How did we all just make it through the last 2 years? We did. So you can pass up the stuff at the state fair and the holidays and Halloween coming up. We can do it.
So do you need another page 4? Give me your email, I'll send it to you. And we'll see you here next month.
Yay!
We'll pretend you're starting over. In a day or 2, your hunger's gone, just like before.
And I'm going to suggest something, because we do tell ourselves, I have to start over, which sounds terrible. Reframe the thinking. I'm picking up where I left off. Because that feels, otherwise you feel like Sisyphus. You're pushing the boulder back up the hill every day. Wouldn't Sisyphus have liked if he could have just stopped halfway up the hill? See, I'm going to pick up where I left off yesterday. So start on how you talk to yourself. Good luck.
Thanks.
Oh, good.
I'm glad somebody watches those videos. Sometimes I wonder.
So, yes, ma'am.
I just had a quick question. I was also going to say one of the things that really helps me is finding somebody else that'll do it with you. Find a friend, find a partner, find somebody in a group somewhere that will do it with you. That's how I got started. I started working with this girl. She had lost a bunch of weight, and I thought, you know what? I need to do it. I'm getting older. I'm not getting younger. So that's how I just got started.
That is a great tip, and some people really are. It is harder
It's
when
hard
you're by
alone.
yourself. If
It is for
if
me.
it's not the person you live with or the people you live with, a buddy, talk to someone. You have tea in the morning and say, here's the plan today, or check it in, and without judgment.
So when I did get started, I asked my husband to do it with me. And he said, oh, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. I'll talk to her about it. And we love our physician. But he went in and she told him that she didn't think he should do the keto diet because she didn't think he'd stick to it. And she said, I see so many people that come back here in worse shape than when they started because they aren't doing it correctly. And unless you do it verbatim, you are not going to lose weight.
Well, that's just bull.
And you know,
So-
you shouldn't quit smoking because you're not going to be able to not smoke.
That's the same.
But I did have
What kind of doctor
I'm sorry,
would
I'm
say
sorry.
that?
I did, and that's okay. And so anyway, she's my doctor too. So when I go in next time, we're going to have a chat.
Good.
And I am going to get on the scale this time. But my question that I was going to ask you was, what do you think about electrolytes and how you should get them in, if you think we should? And the other thing is, if you're having leg cramps, is it okay to drink tonic water every night, or how should I deal with that?
I do with vodka. Diet
So it has
tonic
to be
water.
diet tonic.
Say diet tonic.
Diet
yes.
tonic.
Yeah, it's always diet, but I just didn't know if that's too much quinine to put in your system.
Can I take that one?
Yes, Kyle.
So I have. Hello. I have Kyle Skriniak here. I'm a former patient of Dr. Westman, and now like some kind of shameless groupie, I follow him around. But don't worry, I won't throw undergarments at him. I continue to have leg cramps. I'm 5 years in. I've kept 80 pounds off, but more importantly, I've gone from a 46 to a 36 waist. So, right, weights kind of doesn't make sense on this diet because all our body's shifting all about. So, I still have leg cramps, and this drives me bonkers. Mustard. So what I make sure I have like I eat a lot less than I used to, but I'll have mustard on. Like I'd like to have salami or something that would be good with mustard, right? Worst case scenario, and this has happened to me 2 a.m. I had my upper back just started to cramp, and that was terrifying. I yelled, and fortunately my son was home, and he got me mustard, and in 30 seconds it was gone. Now, not everyone has that experience, but mustard and pickle juice are the two most common, and I learned that from the American Red Cross, because I was donating, and my ankle started to cramp, and they were like, "Do you want Tums?" And I said, "Is it sugar-free?" And they looked at me like, "What kind of question is that?" And I said, "No, I don't want Tums." So, well, then have some mustard. And most people would choose Tums over mustard, right? Because it's candy. And I had the mustard, and it was gone.
So any kind of mustard.
Any
I want to emphasize,
Any kind.
orally, not topically.
Right.
You would be surprised
A swig of mustard. Yeah.
how many people say, "Oh, do I rub it on?" No. I don't think I would be a married man if I was topically putting mustard on my calf muscles.
But were you using the mustard on pastrami as a preventative or just as a therapeutic?
Yeah. So yeah, like I would have it during the day sometime. So I don't know. Well, I'm active. I'm an active person. So I don't know if I'm just maybe should do something differently. But I don't take supplements. Well, yeah, I do take supplements. It's brisket, and it's so good. But yeah, I'll take it during the day. But you can take it too when it's acute. You know what I mean? Because that's the worst when it's 2 a.m. and you have to get out of bed to dance, and sometimes you don't catch it in time. Right? Is that something have you had that? That's the worst.
Yeah, so the electrolytes technically are sodium, salt, magnesium, which you could get in milk of magnesia, that's over the counter, and then potassium, which actually I rarely tell people to take unless they're on a diuretic pill. Probably the most common high blood pressure pill these days, you go to a doctor, you get a pill, is hydrochlorothiazide, and it will deplete your magnesium and potassium. And so if you're on one of these medicines, yes, you should take electrolytes. If you're not on these medicines, you're feeling well, you really don't need to supplement. Although you can buy, there's a Mark Sisson, I think, has Element, LMNT. It's a couple bucks for a sweet flavored concoction of all three of those things, sodium, potassium, and magnesium. But you're ready for The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living by Steve Finney and Jeff Voldick. Because the whole story is you probably need 5 to 7 grams of salt a day as you do this for a way of living. So that's a full teaspoon of salt.
Isn't that radical? Like, we've been told forever, like, salt's going to kill it.
No, but
Right.
so don't take my word for it. You got to read it from the master, Steve Finney. And they self-published their books called The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living.
And also, too, carbs is a vehicle for retaining salt. So when we stop ingesting carbs, our body doesn't hold on to salt. And a certain well-known low-carb doctor had advised me, because I told him early on about I was having these problems. He said, get the salt right, and the other minerals, the other electrolytes will follow. It's been true. except for the leg cramps. I've had them forever though. Keto's great. It's not gonna like, fortunately, if I had lost my leg, it wouldn't grow back because I was on keto. But it does a lot of good things. So,
Thanks, Phil.
so what we're going to transition.
We do have another comment or question?
Yes.
Do we have time?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay, the question is, what about like magnesium oil? Would that be okay? Because you can do that topically.
Sure, if it works.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard some people do that.
And then my comment is going back to you. So for me, I've been like doing this for 6 weeks with my sister, but I have been very open in telling everybody, my coworkers, like I am on this keto diet. And one of my coworkers, they asked, what it is about, and I said, well, it's simple, but it's not easy, because page 4 is simple, but it's not easy. And she just said, you just need to get this in your mind. I can do hard things. And I know in my life, I've been through hard things before, and I'm here, so I've gotten through them. So she reminded me that I can do hard things, and that kind of gets me through. Like I like to bake, and I baked a cake and a little for a first birthday party. So I did these little cupcakes that looked like different jungle animals. They were so cute, and it was so hard not to get a spoonful of that frosting and taste it, because I'm a good baker. But I was like, I can do hard things, and I just did it. And so far in the 6 weeks, I've been 100% committed, and it's not easy, but I've been doing it. So you can do hard things.
And she baked a sweet potato pie last night and didn't taste it. Neither did I. None of us.
Congratulations. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Patty, and I'm new to this too. I heard about you kind of indirectly. I fell upon a video, and you gave a little blurb, and I just saw that you were from Durham. So I Googled you. I knew nothing about it. So I've only been doing this since the middle of July. I did do the no sugar challenge, and I did see that Amy Berger had said that your weight kind of is not linear, and it will go up a little bit. But my question is, because I've kind of been stagnated and have stayed the same for 2 weeks, and then last week I just went down 0.2. So I guess when you hit like I'm okay knowing that I'm gonna hit a point where I might go up a little, or I might not go down as low than the 1 or 2 pounds. But like, I've been keeping to under 20, and so like I'm just trying to prepare myself. How long normally would you plateau for?
Yeah, so the no sugar challenge was a time when we asked people to just focus on sugar reduction and getting it out. But then you changed to 20 grams, so you got end your carb confusion, and you're doing the phase 1, which is like page 4, and now I typically see 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss per week.
Right. And
That's what
he's my husband, so he did your other class after that. So.
Yeah, so unless you're on a medicine that might thwart weight loss, insulin, steroids, gabapentin, any psychiatric medicine.
I'm on a thyroid med, I'm on a blood pressure med. I did have to go on a steroid for 10 days.
There you go. Steroids gonna
maybe that's
stop
it.
it. Even nasal spray, nasal steroids will stop it.
Okay, this
It's not a
is more like
plateau.
a muscle problem, but.
It's medicine. Those darn dogs. Hopefully it helped.
But at least that makes sense.
Yeah.
But even just in going forward, when you do plateau, because it seems
You
like
won't.
everybody, you won't?
No.
Just will
So the
continue.
most common cause of a plateau is carb creep. I mean, you're not following it anymore.
Yeah, okay. I'm not-
Carbs are creeping back in.
Or you just need less fuel than you used to 50 pounds ago. Or
Yeah, so get out of your mind that everyone plateaus. It's not true. If you do, we'll help you.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
half the people who don't need to worry about plateaus. So,
I've just
so
never been on a diet that you don't plateau, so that's why.
welcome.
This is new for me.
So this world is so different than other types of programs, and often there's detective work to figure out, you know, it was a Flonase nasal spray. Well, but my doctor, I don't, you know, so, but it's not a medicine. Yes, it is. You know, so anyway, that's a little detective work usually figures out what it is. And I can be a pretty good detective because, like, I just don't hear that in my patients. So we need to figure out what it is, that it's not the diet that's doing it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, feedback? Yes, ma'am?
I just wanted to say, I saw you last week, and I had reached the point where I wasn't, after 6 weeks, 5 weeks, was not seeing any progress, and you said you're eating too much. And that was my motivation. So I cut out a meal. I went back to intermittent fasting, which I've been successful on before. Weight's coming off. I'm off of all of the medicines for reflux. So that's my victory, is getting off.
Yeah. So in the safety of a room where I've gotten to develop some rapport, you know, I don't have horns, and you know, you just can't pull this off on the internet. I tell people just to eat less. Just eat less. And right now, oh, you can't tell people just eat less, blah, blah. No, this is in the context of no carbs. So it's the habit eating, it's the, you know, so, and the, how you say, you know, do intermittent fasting. Well, you may not have ever heard of that, or, you know, and I don't want you to read about intermittent fasting because they say you have to do this, and so anyway, this is the individualization of it, so if you're trying something that's not working, consult somebody who's got that advanced type of knowledge, and they can usually help you troubleshoot. Yeah, thanks for that.
And for those of you on the interwebs who didn't hear her, she had seen Dr. Westman, and she had kind of flattened out as far as weight. And then he said, don't eat so much. Eat less. He didn't say, don't eat so much. Eat less. This is the thing. If you're burning fat for fuel, that's good. The next thing is, don't be adding fat, because that's counterproductive. And then if you're not adding dietary fat, and you're not losing weight, and you're burning fat for fuel, it might be that you're consuming the exact amount of food you need to maintain your weight. So if you want to lose body weight, eat less food. And it's okay because you won't wreck your metabolism. Any other questions?
Well, you just slayed all these different
Yes,
internet
I did.
things.
This is the bizarro world. This is like, you know, that episode from Seinfeld. This is the bizarro world of nutrition.
Were there some?
So we're at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And I wanted to we have a nice showing this month, which
Yes.
is wonderful.
This was
Thank
so
y'all for coming out.
nice.
Give yourself
Yay!
And I have one question, we'll leave on that. And I'm shouting so they can hear me on the internet. Are we meeting the next first Tuesday of October?
We have signed papers through the rest of the year, so we have the room. Oh, and if I may, there's a Go Keto with Casey meetup on Monday in Greensboro, but in October, there is the Go Keto with Casey Road Show in Greensboro, at which it's a whole day of just hanging out. My old man's going to be manning the grill. There might be music. There are going to be feats of strength. I'm bringing my total gym. Dr. Eric Westman, Jackie Eberstein, Amy Berger. No presentations, no slides, no vendor selling keto gear. I know. Jackie and Amy both said, I don't have to do a presentation. No, we're just going to hang out and talk like this, except it'll be at a park. It's really cool. So you can go to my blog, caseydurango.com.
What's the date on that?
October 8th, there's a wine reception, Saturday evening, October 8th, at Wine Styles in Greensboro, on me, or at least the first drink is on me. And then Sunday, October 9th, and it's a really cool complex, and I think I'm really excited about it, and some of my smart friends are coming.
In Greensboro is about 45 minutes?
Yep, just down
to the
road.
west of here. Yeah.
We have people coming from Oregon, Florida, Ohio, New Jersey, Georgia, and even some people from North Carolina are coming.
Fantastic, thank you.
So come back next month. Come back next month and share with us what you did do. There you go. And I like that. I can do hard. I can do, just because it's not easy doesn't mean it can't be done. We all do things that aren't easy every day. We can do this.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you, Dr. Westman. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night, Tracy.